Hi, I'm Carl, editor and producer of GatorCast. Due to complications, we are unable to present part 1 of this 3-part series on transferring. We're going to post parts 2 and 3 over the next 2 weeks to get you up to speed. Thank you for joining us for this first episode of Season 2 of GatorCast.
Welcome to Green River College's GatorCast. This is Suzanne Johnson, president at Green River College. And today we're going to continue our conversation about transferring. For all you students out there listening, we're doing a 3-part series on transferring to your next college. And you know, the majority of you at Green River will be transferring to one school or another. So if you're picking up this episode today, what you might want to do is hop out, go back to podcast number 1 on transferring, which the topic is exploring transfer, because today we're going to be talking about planning your transfer. And to get us into this conversation, we are joined today with Saray Che.
Yes. Good morning, Dr. Johnson. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here. First, let's talk about who you are, where you are at Green River, because I know a lot of our listeners, when they hear people on the podcast, they're like, okay, I'm going to go meet that person because they seem like I can talk with them. So tell us about yourself. Tell us about your time here at Green River and where students can find you and how they can find you.
Excellent. Yeah. So again, my name is Saray Che. I'm one of the transfer advisors here at Green River College. You can find me in our Career Advising Center in the Student Affairs Building, SA Room 104. In terms of my time here at Green River, I've been here for a little over 3 years as an advisor, assisting our transfer student. But before I became an advisor here, I was a recruiter here at Green River. So I started off my higher education here at Green River as a recruiter back in 2008 to about, I want to say 2011. And that's when I decided where maybe, I need to figure out what's my next chapter in life after recruiting. And I really want to search to become an advisor. So what happened was I went back to my alma mater, University of Washington, Tacoma, ended up being an admission counseling advisor for UW-T. After I did that for about 3 years, a good buddy of mine that worked at Green River at the time was the director of Career Advising Center. He mentioned that, hey, there's a great opportunity if you want to come back to Green River to assist our students for free. I would love to have you come and stop by and see if you can be a good fit with our team. And from there, it worked out. And now I'm here at Green River helping our transfer students. So I'm very excited to come back. So it's almost like a full circle in a sense in terms of my educational path, in terms of my career path in higher ed.
Well, we're so happy that you're here.
Yes.
And you've been here now for a number of years. Tell us a little bit more about your own educational journey.
Yeah, so the reason why I wanted to come back to work at a 2-year college or 2-year institution, because I was that transfer student starting off at a 2-year community college. Matter of fact, I went to Tacoma Community College for the first 2 years. And I was one of those, typical students that didn't know what I wanted to do. All I know that I need to go to college. I need to have a degree so I can have a better life, but I don't know what that looks like and what that is. So I had a hard time trying to figure out, what's my game plan, when I was in school. And, what brought me into the position I'm in now is some of the folks I connected throughout my path, throughout my time in school. And when I work with students, and generally I try to encourage them, to find a mentor, find someone that you can connect with to help and guide you, to help you identify possible avenues and direction that you can get into. And that person at the time when I was at Tacoma Community College was my boss. And he was the director for the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Center. He was not only managing that center, but he also helped out with recruitment outreach. So I remember when I chat with them, I said, hey, what do you think about, working part-time in the outreach department? You have a great personality. I can see you out there with the high school students, connect with them, talking about college, talking about Tacoma Community College. And I'd say that, yeah, let's give it a shot. Let me see how that goes. Again, I didn't have plans to become a recruiter, when I was in high school or work in higher education. So I just came about getting into it because someone recognized that, hey, you have a great fit in this particular position. So I did that for until I graduated from Tacoma Community College. And that was fun. I enjoyed that piece of just going out there to the high school, get them excited about what college can offer them. And when I graduated from University of Washington, Tacoma, so that's where I transferred to after my time at TCC, after I graduated in urban studies, a great field to get into. I was one of those students who have a degree, but didn't end up landing a job that the degree prepares for. So, throughout the next 2 or 3 years after college, I ended up doing random jobs here and there. And then just 3 years of doing jobs and trying to think about, what position, what jobs that I liked, in my previous experience. And, the whole time when I was working at Nabisco as a salesperson. So yes, I was a salesperson for Nabisco, making sure all the cookies and crackers are in stock at the grocery stores. I was just thinking about, okay, what's my future's going to be, knowing that, it might not be with Nabisco being a sales rep. And I just remember thinking back that, wow, I had an amazing time as a recruiter at Tacoma Community College. And I want to be in that position where I could help these students who, where I was in their shoes, during that time. So, and, I was fortunate enough when I was looking for jobs online. And again, that position for Green River as a high school recruiter was available, just made it clear that's my pathway. So yeah, it's been quite a journey for me to end up where I land. And the crazy thing, this is the type of story that I like to share with our transfer students. As you may know, a lot of them don't know what they want to do, which is fine. I always tell them that it's okay. But, it's always important to make sure that you try, and see what pathways, what you like and what you're interested in, see if that's going to work or not. And eventually you'll end up finding something that you're going to want to become as a professional career, per se. So
This is such a great story, and it's such a good reminder, for our student listeners out there. Listening to Saray, you see that he's tried a lot of different careers. He's explored. He's been brave in the context of trying things out that seemed right at the time. It's so interesting. We were talking with Josh Steffieri recently about career advising.
Yep.
And one of the things we kept circling back to is it's a normal experience for students to wonder about where they're going in their life. What do they want to be when they grow up, no matter
Right.
what our ages. We're all discovering that we're still asking that question, regardless of what our ages are. And that this is part of being in college. It's part of being a college student. And just listening to your story reminds me of my own in terms of having different career stop-offs and
Right.
different experiences. And, through each one, you find something that's a bit more meaningful and that works. So I think it's really important for students to realize that when they're speaking to you or another advisor or a faculty member here at the college, everyone has their stories in
Right.
terms of life journeys. And so oftentimes from a student perspective, I think they look at you and others, successful professionals, and they think you never had any questions, you never did anything different, you had a
Right.
clear path, you knew exactly what you were going to do, and now you've gotten this job.
Right.
When they don't know about you working as a recruiter or
Right.
Nabisco. I never knew that you worked
Yeah.
at Nabisco. That's
Yeah.
fast. Did you get like free cookies?
I
and
did,
stuff?
yes.
Yeah.
Christmas time was a lot of fun. That's when they'll have like an annual meeting, and part of that meeting will discuss, the upcoming holiday cookies and treats. So they have displays set up, so that way we could have a visual what that looks like in the stores.
Wow.
So
Okay.
and after that, the conference, they'll say yes. So the items that we have here, hey, it's free for all. For free to grab a box, grab some Triscuits, some Oreos, take it, share with your family. So yeah, I came back with a huge box of just Nabisco products,
Wow.
passing around to
Wow.
my friends. So yeah, they like
So
that.
we don't have a culinary program here, so we're not
Right.
going to really be able to give you the free baked goods.
Yes, yes.
But what we are here today
Right.
to talk about is transfer.
Yes.
And as we were saying earlier, the majority of students that come to Green River, based on what they're interested in studying or the fact that they're exploratory students, they're going to be transferring on.
Correct.
And this becomes a really important thing for students to know, that when you come to Green River and you're interested in studying something that is not one of our career and technical education programs that are linked directly to job placement after, that this is part of your journey in terms of college education. And it's so very important for a student to have a plan.
Correct.
To have a plan.
Yes.
Now, as I mentioned earlier in this episode, this is the second part of a 3-part series on how to transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And our first episode focused around exploring
Mm-hmm.
the student, looking at what they're interested in, what they want to study, and based on finding their career path, knowing that that then means that, okay, this option that I'm thinking about or the options I'm considering will require that I need to transfer.
Mm-hmm.
This episode is focusing on the actual planning to transfer. And for our listeners, as a FYI, the third episode will be all about making your applications.
Mm-hmm.
So, planning to transfer.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah. So it's definitely a key component for a lot of our students' success in terms of transferring. Like you mentioned, a lot of our students are here for those who are planning to transfer to for school. I mean, they're here to take classes to not only complete in an associate degree, but also to meet the requirements to take the appropriate classes to get into that 4-year university. So our goal as an advisor, once you step foot on our campus, is trying to have that discussion. And again, we talked about how some students are undecided or they're here exploring, and some might know what they want to do, and that's great. But we want to make sure that your time here with us at Green River College that's well equipped, you're well prepared, and part of being prepared is planning.
So what are the first steps then? So I'm a student, I decide,
Mhm.
okay, well, I'm studying English or I'm
Right.
studying psychology or chemistry
Mm-hmm.
as examples.
Right.
I know that I'm going to get an associate's degree. An associate's degree is a
Right.
2-year degree.
Mm-hmm.
But I know if I want to do something with those fields,
Mhm.
I need to go on to get the 4-year degree, my
Correct.
BA, my Bachelor of Arts degree, or my Bachelor of Science degree, BS degree.
Correct.
So what are my first steps then in terms of the planning? What do
Right.
I do?
Well, I mean, for new students and also current students, one thing that we encourage you to do is connect with your advisor, whether it's the advisor in the career advising center or your assigned advisor, whether that could be your faculty advisor as well.
All right, let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
So are all students assigned an advisor?
Yes. So for our new students who's going to step foot on our campus in the first quarter here, they'll be assigned to an advisor at the Career Advising Center. So part of the process, once they register for classes, we encourage them to sign up for what we call a first quarter advising appointment. Okay.
And that'll happen in the advising center in the
That's
student affairs building.
Correct. Yes, that will happen during in the advising center with one of the transfer advisors. Okay, and the goal for that first quarter advising appointment is to sit down with you, kind of discuss, your game plan here at Green River. What you're looking to do. What type of majors or career that you're hoping to obtain down the road, and then what we'll try to do is trying to look at what possible paths that will be the best fit for you. So like you mentioned, for someone who might be interested in the science field, we will let them know, hey, yes, if you have an interest in going to Eastern Washington University for computer science, here's a pathway. Here's an associate transfer degree that's kind of geared towards those computer science major. And this is what your roadmap's going to look like.
And why is it important to have that destination and what I've always been told, tell me if I'm wrong,
Mm-hmm.
if you're potentially a transfer student, you need to have at least 3 or 4 colleges that you may want to apply to. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. One thing that our office, I know that the transfer advisor always encourages students to do is look at multiple schools, apply to multiple schools. We know that, yes, there's a few favorite ones out there in terms of, public and private universities in the state of Washington. But sometimes the majors that the students are interested in are considered competitive majors. So there's a slim chance that you might not get into your first choice. So you have to figure out, okay, if I don't get into my first choice, what's my backup plan? What's my backup schools? So if you are able to prepare to identify possible schools that you want to transfer to for your major, that will help you down the road if your first choice doesn't work out.
Okay. So let's just assume then this is a student that knows generally what they're interested in studying, or they know that they wanted to complete the first 2 years of their electives and so on. So they've got that idea
Right.
set, right? Oh, I want to transfer study psychology, or I want to transfer study chemistry. Or, you know what, I don't want to determine what I want to study yet, so I'm just going to take my general education class requirements to transfer. Let's talk about then the importance of having those destinations, those 3 or 4 minimum, 3 or 4 schools that the student is thinking they may want to go to next. Why is that so important in terms of planning?
Well, in terms of the majors, you know, the requirements for the majors might be different from one another. You can't just
At
assume
one school or
at
another.
one school or another, correct. So generally what we tell students, you know, don't assume that the prerequisites for University of Washington is going to be the same as Eastern Washington or Central Washington, okay? So identifying, you know, those requirements for that major at those particular school will be helpful. So that way when you register for classes, you know that you're checking off boxes for, you know, a particular university or checking off boxes for all 3 universities that might have the same requirements. So that's going to be very important, you know, to make sure that, you know, students don't end up taking classes they don't need, you know, and that's, you know, important aspect of education is making sure that you don't waste time, especially money. You know, if students end up paying out of pocket, we will hate for students to end up taking classes that's not necessary. So in terms of identifying, you know, that institution, that program ahead of time would avoid some classes that are not required if they end up, you know, choosing the wrong one. So I think, yeah, it's definitely going to be very helpful, you know, once they game plan ahead, work with their advisor to figure out, you know, what requirements are needed for this particular institution, for this particular program. So that way we can create an educational plan, making sure that, you know, for the quarters that they're taking now and for future quarters, they're taking the right classes for the institution, for the major.
So this becomes a really important point for the students who are listening today to keep in mind. Let's say you want to study chemistry, and you've now identified 3 or 4 schools that you're going to apply to. And what I've noticed with a lot of students here, they want to stay in state.
Correct.
And there's a short list of schools then, right? So you've identified 3 or 4 schools in the state of Washington that have chemistry degrees. So now that you have those schools and you can see what their graduation requirements are, you can sort of backtrack and then more effectively pick the classes you take here for the first 2 years of your education.
That's correct.
So that when you go to the next school, whether it's WSU, UW, Eastern Washington, so on, you will have had all the courses that they can accept over. You don't lose time.
Exactly.
You haven't taken a class you don't need. You haven't taken a class that you'll have to take again at the institution. And so having those destinations actually makes you more effective in figuring out what you should take here at Green River from term to term.
That's correct. That's correct.
So how does a student decide then how to make their plans in terms of finding the schools that they might want to transfer to?
And one thing that we tell our students that there's going to be resources on campus. And one of the things that we do in the Career Advising Center in terms of helping students identifying those possible schools, those possible majors, we'll have events on campus. So one of the unique events that I strongly encourage students to attend, especially our transfer students and also career tech students if they want to explore that transfer option as well, is our transfer fair. So every quarter, except for summer, we have a quarterly transfer fair where all the university in the state of Washington, public and private, will come to our campus to connect with our students.
And how do students find out about these transfer fairs?
Right. The transfer fair will be promoted on our website, so definitely check out the events calendar on our website.
And where do you find that?
Events calendar, you'll find it on the front page of the school calendar. It's going to be on the bottom left-hand corner.
At greenriver.edu?
Edu, yes.
Bottom left-hand corner?
Corner. Yeah, bottom left-hand corner, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But also our office, the Career Advising Center, will send a mass email letting students know what's coming up, what's going on for this particular quarter.
And this goes to their student emails.
That's correct, yes.
Student listeners out there is a reason that you have a student email account.
Exactly,
And
yes.
important information comes to that. I know you probably have a lot of other email accounts and it might be a bit of a hassle, but it's important for you to check your student email periodically. There are reasons that we communicate with you about certain things through your Green River College email account. Some things we can't communicate with you through other email systems. Email, on occasion, is important. So you say that you blast an advertisement to them through that?
Exactly, yeah. So we'll send like a mass email to all of our transfer students to let them know about our transfer events, whether it's the transfer fairs. And occasionally we'll have universities will make additional visits to our campus. They want to, truly connect with our students and make sure that they know, what to expect in terms of the transfer process.
So what is a transfer fair? What
Right.
happens there?
So our transfer fair is again, it is held every quarter except for summer. So it's located in our student union where the grand hall is at. So it's basically you will have a bunch of reps and a bunch of tables. So this is where students can go to each table.
Oh, from each college.
From
So
each college,
colleges
yes.
come here
Exactly.
to our campus. They have a table
Mhm.
and they're there trying to woo our students to make application to their school.
Correct. Yeah. So this is a great opportunity for our students to connect with the rep that they want to connect with and get the answer they need. Generally what I tell our students is that, us advisors in the career advising center, we're generalists. There's a lot of schools that we need to try to understand. And we might not know all the information and might not have all the questions. So one of the things that we encourage students early on is make that connection at the four-year university, identifying who's that admission counselor that works with Green River students. So that way you have a contact person. So if you have a question about, WSU engineering requirements, you have a person that could get you information.
So are you saying that at most of the colleges in the state of Washington, there is somebody at the other college that works with Green River College students?
Yes, we do. There are admission counselor at the four institution that are designated to work at particular two-year colleges.
And how does the student find that out then?
Through the transfer fair. So that's one way.
Okay.
Once they connect with that university person or rep will let them know, it's like, yes, I'm an admission counselor for this particular university. If you want to come to my institution. Other option is connecting with an advisor at the Career Advising Center. We have contacts. If you have an interest in transfer to Western Washington University, we have a contact person that you can connect with as well.
So you can connect these students as well.
Yes.
So what I'm hearing right now, because we're going through, what are the services, what are the resources students should be utilizing at Green River to help them transfer, help them start making their plans. You're saying transfer fairs, big ones, and then people like you.
Exactly, yeah.
The advisors in our student affairs building.
That's correct, yeah. And in addition to the transfer fairs, one of the things that we also host are some of our transfer workshop or transfer information session that the Career Advising Center put together. Okay, so every quarter I will set up a what I call a transfer information session. So for those who wants to know what the process looks like, here's your opportunity to attend an hour session to hear about what that process looks like. What does four-year institution look for in a transfer student? What you need to do to prepare yourself to not only complete an associate degree here at Green River, but also be admissible to the university and to the program. So every quarter we'll host a transfer information session. And the location varies depending on what's available. Sometimes it could happen in our student affairs building. Sometimes it could be in the student union. So it all depends on what rooms available during that week. I'm trying to schedule that. And and again, going back to the university reps where they're making those additional visits. So some of those reps are coming in and asking for, hey, could I schedule a time block where I can meet with your students, do a one-on-one advising appointment? So we do get some of those admission counselor that will have a table or have a room in our office in the Career Advising Center to connect with students. So that's one way for them to make sure they have all that planned out, so that way they're prepared for the transfer process.
Right. And excellent. And for the listeners here, if you go to greenriver.edu/GatorCast, GatorCast, you will find additional resources that are linked to this episode. And we'll be getting up there some dates that you need to keep in mind in terms of any workshops that are coming up, as well as when the transfer fairs are. So again, greenriver.edu/GatorCast. That's also where you can subscribe to these podcasts, but you'll find additional resources linked there.
That's correct.
All right. So now we've got transfer fairs, advisors, advisors being able to connect with the other advisors at four-year institutions who might be here visiting for different workshops or opportunities to meet students. What other resources are available?
Well, I mean, for me personally, in terms of planning, I mean, to go back to planning, we offer tools on our campus that students can utilize to help them stay on track. So
let's talk about that.
Yeah. So one of the tools that we encourage students, encourage students to utilize on a quarterly basis is our degree audit. The degree audit is a helpful tool to get an idea of what that path looks like for someone who wants to do the associate business transfer or the associate science transfer. It will include, required courses or recommended courses that, business schools are looking for, or the science department are looking for. When students come to us, the question that we get a lot is, could you help me identifying, what classes I should take, or could you recommend me courses to take for winter quarter? And the first thing we'll ask them is like, did you check your degree audit? Did you get an idea?
What is a degree audit? Is it a piece of paper? What do you find it online? Is it something that I carry in my phone? What's a degree audit?
Yeah, so degree audit is an online tool that's available through our class registration homepage. So part of the advising component when you meet with your advisor is identifying some of those tools. So,
and where do we find our advising homepage?
Right. So the advising homepage, for me, the quickest way, if you go to the bottom, there is a
bottom of our homepage.
Oh, the bottom of the homepage, correct. There is a link for the Career and Advising Center. So if you click on that, it'll lead you to information about what we have to offer. And also, I believe it links to some of the transfer page as well. So if students have questions about some of our transfer degrees or some of our transfer tools, I believe is located in there as well.
So they click on the Career and Advising Center area, and are they going to find a link for a degree audit?
The degree audits, I'm not 100% sure if it's there or not. I could double check, but I know that the class registration homepage. So when you register using the Class Finder tool, on the right-hand side, you see a lot of those helpful tools. Degree audit is one of them.
Okay, in the class registration area.
Exactly,
You're going to find the degree audit as a
Correct.
tool that the student can click on. So now tell me, describe what a degree audit is. Because
Right.
a lot of our students, I understand that language. You understand that language.
Right.
We've been in the college world for many, many years.
Correct.
But a lot of our students this is the first person in their family that's been to college. Might be their first time to any college.
Right.
What is it?
Right. So a degree audit tool is basically what I consider a roadmap. Okay. So for someone who wants to pursue business, once you log into degree audit, select the transfer degree that you're looking to pursue, it will pop up the requirements, for that
So
particular
it's a list
pathway.
of courses.
Exactly. So students can use that as a guide to identifying, okay, I need to complete this degree, but what does that degree consist of? What type of courses I need to take. So the degree audit will indicate recommended courses for that particular pathway. And the nice thing about that tool is that once you register for classes, it will place those classes in the degree audit. So that way, I got my English 101 done. I have my math done. Okay, I need some science classes to satisfy the remainder required for my associate in arts degree. Okay, so we don't have. I think the students have the expectation that we have some sort of a magical plan where we can just tell students, this is where you go to find this. I like to tell students that information is available to them. It's just a matter of just identifying what the tools are. So when students come to us and ask what classes they can take, and it's like, yeah, you have that information. It's just a matter of just knowing the resources, knowing the tools is available, and then exactly what courses that you're going to take based upon this particular tool.
Now, what the degree audit is going to have then are different topic areas. So if you want to get a degree in business in terms of transfer, it's going to show you a list of all the classes you need to take to complete that degree, to complete that program. And so when you choose classes here at Green River, it will then pop itself into that degree map or that chart. It's a chart.
Exactly.
It's a chart of courses. And
Exactly.
that way you can keep track of what you've taken, what you still need to take, and what you'd be taking once you go on to another
Mhm.
institution.
Correct.
Okay, that sounds like a really important tool.
It
What
is.
other kinds of resources and tools for the planning process of transfer should students think about?
I think for me, it just goes back to, like you said, identifying that your end goal, where the end goal is going to be, and where and which institution is going to be. I think once you kind of figure that out, there is another tool that we use with our students in terms of what we call an ed plan, an educational plan.
Okay, now how is that different from a degree audit?
Well, the educational plan, so this is where students could map out their time here with us. So in terms of it allows students to place courses for a particular course. So let's say that you're new to Green River and winter quarter is your first quarter with us. You sign up for a first quarter advising appointment with your transfer advisor, and he or she will sit down with you and say, okay, let's create a academic plan or educational plan. And that tools allow students to place courses they want to take for a particular quarter. Okay. So one of the questions that we get a lot from students is that, am I able to complete my degree within 2 years?
Mhm.
Okay. Degree
The
audit's
answer
nice.
is yes.
Yes. The answer is yes. Yes. It also depends on your placement as well. But degree audit doesn't allow you to place those potential classes that you're going to take for future quarters. So the educational plan allows you to incorporate those classes. So that way you can see winter quarter, you're taking English, you're taking math, you're taking a social science class. And then your spring quarter, let's plan on continue on that math class, continue on that second English composition course. So that way, once you register, once we get ready to register for spring quarter, you have a plan already of knowing what classes to take. And then in terms of knowing if you could complete this degree within the term that you indicated for yourself, we could map that out, but using the degree audit tool, identifying the courses are needed for that particular transfer degree, and then place those courses into the educational plan. So that way, boom, yes, I'm able to complete my degree within 2 years. Or yes, I'm going to have to take a summer quarter because I need to make up or add this science class to make sure that I'm on track to not only satisfy the associate degree requirement, but also meeting the requirements for the admission to the university and to the program as well.
Okay, so I want to do a sort of a recap
Yes.
for just a moment here for our listeners. So what we've been talking about is coming to the terms where you realize, okay, I'm going to be transferring to another institution. And so what I'm hearing you say, Saray,
Mm-hmm.
is that once I realize I'm going to be transferring someplace,
Mm-hmm.
step one is I need to realize I need to find 3 to 4, if not more, schools that I might consider making application to.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And those programs, those schools are going to be used by me as a student to determine what I need to be taking here at the college so that I can transfer on to the next college
That's correct.
without losing credits or time. But the way that I'm going to be able to do that the best is by seeing an advisor, for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and with the advisor, or on my own, but always with an advisor to get that,
Mm-hmm.
review of what I think as a student is what I'm supposed to be doing. Utilizing the degree audit
Mm-hmm.
and the other tool that we have that parallels that and supports the degree audit, which is for the 4-year degree,
Mm-hmm.
is the educational or academic plan
Mm-hmm.
that an advisor can help lay out with each of our students in terms of what they should take from one term to the next. Now, we have lots of students that want to finish in 2 years or around that, and they're able to be full-time. We have a lot of students that are part-time. And so we can do educational or academic plans, whether you're a part-time student or full-time student, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And then we have, in addition to that, events
Mm-hmm.
like our transfer fairs and workshops and visits by some of the institutions, recruiter advisors that might be here separate from a transfer fair that students can utilize and attend. And those things we're going to get up on our website for our GatorCast
Most
so the
definitely.
students can look the upcoming dates up. What other advice or steps
Mhm.
would you offer to the students listening today in terms of planning for transfer?
Connections can be very important. Connecting with the resources that you have here at Green River College. So whether it's making that appointment to meet with your advisor or your faculty advisor or your assigned advisor, whoever that is, make sure that that's something that you'll try to do early. It goes back to making sure that you are prepared, taking the right classes, and making sure that you're using your time wisely here at the college. So just, the early intervention that you have in an advisor, a assigned advisor, will definitely help you be prepared. And then making that connection with the institutions that you want to transfer to and see if it's a good fit. I always tell students, don't pick a school based upon where your peers are going. Make sure that that institution is going to check everything off for you, making sure that it provides the degree that you're looking for, and that way you don't waste time and money again when you transfer to a four-year university. So identifying that early can be very beneficial. So the early intervention that you start with, creating that plan, will help you be successful throughout your time here at Green River College.
I think this is a great way for us to wrap this episode up and focusing on connections.
Yes.
And what Saray is conveying to all of you is the importance of you connecting, meaning coming to meet in person. Saray and his other transfer advisors in our Student Affairs Advising and Career Center on the ground floor of Student Affairs Building. And he's also shared the importance of connecting with your classroom instructors, the college faculty. This is very important because our faculty who are here, those who are teaching the classes that you're taking, Green River College students, are there as a resource for you. It's not just about the class that instructor is teaching, it's also about the field that they're in. And they can give you lots of good advice, not just about what classes you should take next term, but they can give you lots of good advice in terms of your career and career opportunities. These are the experts in the content area you might be interested in. So if you're interested in chemistry, the chemistry faculty have their degrees in chemistry. They not only know how to teach in the classroom and share information to you, but they also know lots of people in that field that do a lot of different jobs in terms of chemistry, just taking it as an example. Same with psychology, English, history, physics, name the area. Faculty here on our campus are great resources. So, Saray, we always like to end each episode in terms of some actions. What should the student that's listening today do next in terms of planning for transfer?
I would say connect with your assigned advisor, making sure you're on track. If you don't have a plan, let's create a plan, and that will help you throughout your time. And also, participate in some of our transfer events, whether it's the transfer fair, advising day. I forgot to mention that advising day is going to be very important. Great
Another
opportunity.
resource we'll have on our website.
There you go. Yes, a great way for you to connect with the faculty as well. So plan. That would definitely help you.
And how do we find our assigned advisor?
If you go to our website, for me personally, the class registration homepage is a great page for all of our students because of those unique tools that we have to offer. So that's one way where students could find their advisor or contact the Career Advising Center. We can definitely tell you over the phone or in person who's your advisor is and get you scheduled to meet with them.
Excellent. And the phone number that a student can use?
Yes. So our college number is area code 253-833-911, extension 2641. So remember that number if you have any question or you need some help or assistance regarding your ed plan.
Excellent. So the goal is plan, get on it early. You don't have to know where you're going yet, and you don't even have to know what you're going to study, but get on that planning.
That's correct. Yes.
Thank you so much, Saray, for
Thank
being
you.
here. Everybody, remember greenriver.edu/GatorCast. That's where you can subscribe to the Green River College podcast series, and you can find additional resources. You'll find additional resources for this episode linked to this episode number 2 on transfer planning.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Yes.